That's what's going on. I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to see you. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today we're going to talk about this rapper, a rapper by the name of Fresher. Never heard of Fresher, but this is the interesting story. Fresher has a fiance, and the fiance feels that he has to spend $250,000 on their wedding. I'm going to talk to you about wedding spending and why that's an absolute no-no to be pressured into overspending for weddings, overspending for engagement rings, what it can mean for your finances. And we're going to talk about money, 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 a little bit about Fresher and his fiance, but we're really going to talk also about economic culture and why culture really matters. So get comfortable, buckle up a seatbelt. We're going to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. On the Black Financial Channel, we talk about Black wealth and Black economics every single day, sometimes as much as 10 times a day, under one condition. The condition is that we are Black first. Black first means we put our community at the top of our priority list. Black first means that we're educating our kids. Black first means that we also want to be smart. We want to be smart. And so give me a B1 in the chat. Give me a yes in the chat if you believe that being financially smart is important for Black people. Give me a yes in the chat if you agree that financial intelligence is critical. Also, shout out the city that you're from. Let me know what city you're from. And Cedric says, I love the shirt. Yeah, if you go to wokeblacktees.com, wokeblacktees.com, you can actually take a look. I got a lot of Smart Alex shirts. You can take a look at. Let me see if I can show you guys the screen here. I don't get to talk about it much, but yeah, so Woke Black Tees is basically our t-shirt shop. So we have a lot of different t-shirts with all kinds of little stuff on here that you can buy for yourself. So feel free to go to Woke Black Tees, WOKE, wokeblacktees.com if you'd like to grab your shirt for you and your family. All right, so what's going on? My name is Corey and Jimmy from Vacaville. Is that right? Vacaville, and at ATL in the house. My name is Corey. What's going on? I'll be in Atlanta. I'm actually going to the Generational Wealth Conference hosted by Julian Gordon. I'm going to speak there, and then I'm also speaking at another event in Atlanta pretty soon. So I love Atlanta. Love y'all out there. Great people. All right, so give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of you saw this video? There's a video. I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. Give me a yes in the chat if you saw that video where this rapper, his name is Fresher. I don't know who Fresher is. I just don't know, anything about this dude, honestly. But I did notice in that video that his fiance was demanding that he spend $250K on their wedding. Did anybody else see that video? Give me a yes in the chat if you saw this video. And I can't play the clip on this show because I can't put it on YouTube because it causes copyright issues. But let me just say, I did share it on my Instagram, and let me just say, it was a real hot ghetto mess. I mean, the video was a hot ghetto mess. It was, basically imagine a Black woman screaming and cussing and getting mad and calling him broke and humiliating this man and demeaning him because he is taking his role as the steward of the family finances seriously. Because this man basically says it's my job to hold it down for the family. I'm not going to spend $250K for a wedding. I think he even said we need to invest that. She got mad and said, this is BS. You don't love me enough, and all these other crazy things that just, I mean, and the obvious answer to something like that, if you ask me, you guys know finance and money, that's my thing. Obviously, the answer is you don't marry somebody like that, right? That's that's the first answer to that. But then there's a deeper level to this. In a couple of things that I wanted to bring up to you guys. Now, you guys know in the Black Business School, we actually created the first ever Black financial therapy department where we have started working with some of the best Black therapists and best Black financial experts to explore the psychological and cultural barriers that keep us from building Black wealth. Like, what does a wealthy family look like? What does a wealthy community look like? How do Jewish people do it? How is it that Jews are only 2% of the population, but they own every Black actor you have out in Hollywood? They control the banks. They're able to control entertainment at such a high level. They only got 2%. Y'all 13%. They 2%. They've been here just a few years. Y'all been here 400 years. How do they control so much? And ultimately understanding this means you got to really dig into culture, and you got to not just look at the culture that you grew up in, but you got to look at the culture that is being promoted to your community, the culture that's being seen as lit, that's being seen as cool, that's being seen as kind of the it thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe, give me a yes, let me know if I'm right or wrong about this, but I believe that the clip was from like one of those like reality shows, one of those love and hip hop style reality shows. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that for the black community, unfortunately, this incident with the rapper Fresher and his fiance, that for the black community in general, most of the part of your culture that gets promoted the most to the world is very juvenile, meaning lots of young dudes in their 20s making economic choices and personal choices that are very bad. It's also heavily hip hop oriented. It's very focused on violence, instant gratification, all the things that leave you broke, all the things that destroy your wealth, all the things that destroy your life are regularly promoted to black people, just like fast food in the hood that gives you diabetes, strokes, heart disease, and cancer by the time you're 55 years old. Like all that stuff, the same way they promote junky food. Give me a yes in the chat if you follow what I'm saying here. Give me a yes if you're following this. The same way they promote the junky food to you that you eat because it tastes good and then it kills you, they also promote junk culture to you, right? Which because it tastes good, it's exciting, right? It's more exciting to watch a rapper destroy his life on a reality show than it is to watch a finance professor break down the intricacies of how wealth is built in a stable family. It's much more interesting to watch somebody popping that ass and twerking, than it is to watch somebody who's actually going to explain how to have a healthy family, how to eat healthy, how to actually survive and live. Right. That's why, for example, you look at that whole situation with another very toxic relationship you saw with Megan the Stallion and Tory. What's his face? Lanes, I think that's his name. It's really interesting because with Megan and Tory, I was really fascinated by the story because every single element of what I talk about in toxic culture was encapsulated in that whole situation. I read Megan and Tory's backgrounds in extreme detail to understand where they come from, what was their upbringing like. So I read about when Tory lost his mother when he was young, and then his father kicked him out of the house, and he ends up in the street. I read about how Megan didn't have her father around and got into rap, and then somebody told her that she should call herself a stallion, right? Which a stallion actually stands for a castrated male horse. I think that's the definition of stallion. Tell me if I'm wrong, but a stallion is a castrated male horse, right? So what in the world? I'm not making fun of anybody, but I just want to really point these things out to you so you'll know these things, because I think these are things we're talking about. Even if you disagree with me, give me a guess if we can say this and still be loved. This is just fruit for conversation. This is not me telling you what's right and what's wrong, but think about this. Why would a black woman proudly allow white record labels, white and it's sometimes partly black owned record labels, why would she let the hip hop music industry name her after a castrated male horse? Black women are not stallions. Black women, I saw Megan on that Incredible Hulk show. I forgot, She-Hulk. And she was teaching the She-Hulk how to twerk. Like that was her job. She was in the office popping that ass and showing her how to twerk. This is, and so you allow these images of your black women all around the world, and then you wonder, well, why don't they respect black women? Why don't they think we're ladies too? Well, because the ladies don't get promoted. Akilah Nihonda, I know Akilah Nihonda. She's a great rapper. She's better than Megan Thee Stallion. She's right out of Houston. She's a lady, but they don't have an interest in black women who present themselves with dignity. They want you popping that ass. They want you embarrassing yourself. They want Lizzo. They don't want they don't want they don't want Mrs. Huxtable. They want Lizzo, right? So again, it's not blaming anybody. It's pointing out garbage culture and what that really does to your people. And so I'm gonna get back to this thing with Fresher and his fiance, but y'all know me, I got to explain the whole picture. So I hope you'll allow me to do that. Give me a yes if it's okay if I kind of break it down, because I kind of want to do this. I know people like to get to the point, and I am getting to the points, but some people these conversations are a little bit not quite. They're not ready to hear this. So I'm talking to the people that are ready to hear this. So with Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez, what I saw was this really horrible situation where this rapper shoots his girlfriend in the foot or something. Apparently, that's what the courts ruled. I'm gonna go with that. That he found guilty of shooting her in the foot, and he's gonna go to prison for a long time, most likely. She's traumatized. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, somebody you love shot you in the foot. That sucks, right? And and what I saw with this was all the elements of toxic culture coming together, almost like a tornado, to create a really tragic, traumatic outcome. I saw a quote from Tori. Tori was on the phone with some lady, and he didn't understand that they record these jailhouse phone calls, right? I don't understand. Like, look. My thing is like with the rappers, I say, look, if you ever go kill somebody, don't rap about it, and don't get on the jailhouse phone and talk about it. Well, he was on the phone, and he was really remorseful for what happened. And one thing he said that really stood out to me, that was really powerful, was he said, man, I don't know what the hell was going on. I was so drunk. I don't even remember what was going on. I was just out of it because I was so drunk. And that's exactly, I was like, damn, I wish somebody had warned him about how many black men there are in prison right now because of things they did when they were high and drunk. Well, why were you getting high and drunk? Well, because your favorite rapper was there was all this music and all this culture around you, making you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. You thinking, well, I'm young, I ain't supposed to listen to old stupid people like Dr. Boyce. Man, Dr. Boyce is lame. He up here talking about don't mess around with alcohol and all that. I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna get lit, I'm gonna get high, I'm gonna get drunk. Next thing you know, when you are sober, they tell you, oh, by the way, you shot somebody in the foot, you're going to prison for 20 years. Malcolm X told you a long time ago that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then he'll lock you up for being drunk. You've been warned, you've been told. And so ultimately, I don't think enough conversations are had about how trash culture can lead to us being dead, broke, incarcerated, and just traumatized in so many different levels. So when I see this relationship, I hated what I saw. So I read about this rapper Fresher, and the video, by the way, if you want to see this video, it's on my Instagram. I put it on my Instagram, which is the real Boyce Watkins. If you ever want to engage in the conversations, we have intelligent conversations on my Instagram, but sometimes we have fun. We act a little ignorant, but it's still intelligent. And in this video, I saw just such a mess. I saw like this terrible hot ghetto mess where you have one person who is trying to elevate. He's trying to operate on a different vibrational frequency. He's basically saying we're supposed to invest. What he's saying is we're not supposed to just embrace instant gratification. The culture tells you that instant gratification is where it's at, but investors don't buy into instant gratification. Investors are not constantly seeking instant gratification like a crackhead looking to hit the pipe, just looking for that next big high. No, investors look for what is called delayed gratification. Investors are like, yo, let me make a little sacrifice so that I can have more later on. That's what he said. He said, we're supposed to invest that. And I'm like, yeah, of course you're supposed to invest. Anybody who wants to have a good future is supposed to invest. How many of you, give me a yes or no, how many of you believe that that a person who wants a good future has to sacrifice and invest to get that good future? How many of y'all believe, and then put a no in the chat if you believe that it all just comes down to luck. Give me a yes in the chat if we can agree that in order to have a good future, you have to prepare for that future. You have to plan for that future. You have to sacrifice for that future. You have to invest in that future. You have to work for that future. How many of you understand this? This is a basic concept. This is a basic idea. And what is really fascinating, you got to pay attention here because this all ties back to the economics and everything else. I mean, it's all blended together like a big salad. It is fascinating to me how many young people don't even understand that. They really think that you can do no work, make no sacrifices, make no investments, have zero patience, and have it all like tomorrow. I don't understand. I'm like, who told you that? Who told you that you could be the king of the mountain and not sacrifice to get there? Who told you that you could be rich and famous without having any sort of commitment, investment, work ethic, nothing? No preparation, no planning, no strategy, no nothing. Who told you that it's all based on luck? I just don't, it's flipping me out. So with this rapper, I liked what he said. He said, look, we're supposed to invest that, so they're debating about the wedding. They're going back and forth, and she's getting more and more irate and basically saying some other things that really caught my attention. Like she was basically kind of saying, if you don't do this, then you don't really love me. If you don't do this and you don't love me, which is a horrible way to manipulate somebody emotionally. In fact, I'm going to bring my wife in. My wife is a relationship therapist who sees couples, and I'd love to know how she would counsel a couple like this. So at some point, I'm going to bring Alicia in. We're going to do a pillow talk. Our podcast is called Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia, because I want to hear her perspective on this. But that is incredibly manipulative. And that the fact that she equates money with love, like the amount that you love me is measured by how much you spend on me, is a real problematic connection. That's a real problematic connection. And it tells me that maybe that's what was established in the beginning. And this is what you where you have to kind of take some accountability. And if you're sitting there and you're saying, who would marry a woman like that? That's the issue, right? That's the question. Now I read Fresher's background. I couldn't find his fiance's background or her bio, but I found Fresher's background in his bio. And he grew up and he had some hard times. He had a son at 16 years old, and he's gone through some stuff. He got actually robbed in 2020, and somebody pistol whipped him or something, and they took his car, they took his cash, they took his jewelry, stuff like that. So he also is sort of in the culture, and he's gone through some trauma that comes with the culture. I would never want to be a rapper. Like, being a rapper is probably the worst job in the world. You need hazard pay because it's damn near as bad as being an NFL player in terms of the terrible things that can happen to you in that space. But those are the things that our little boys grow up dreaming about because they don't know how to have a better dream. They have the biggest dream that they know how to have because the only thing we can dream of is the things that we're exposed to. And even myself, I had dreams of one day getting a high-paying job. I wanted to be a professor and make six figures, and I did. I got to Syracuse University when I finished my PhD, and I was making $115,000 a year. But then when I got to that level of the dream, I realized there's a bigger dream. I realized that there were people out here that were making money without working. I was teaching kids that were Asian and Jewish and white who were going to Wall Street, whose parents were making 10-20 million dollars a year, working 5 hours a week. I didn't know that that dream was even available. So I started learning about bigger dreams through time. So I think that with rappers and athletes, I really kind of think that our black boys need to have bigger dreams. But anyway, but I like the fact that he was trying to kind of sort of shape himself into what he needs to be as a man who's trying to evolve, trying to elevate his vibrational frequency in terms of his thought process. And he was dealing with a wife who has equated love with money. Like, if you don't spend $250,000, if you ain't willing to go broke in order to marry me, then you don't really love me. I'm gonna walk out. First of all, that's really messed up. That's really terrible. I mean, obviously, most normal people, I don't know, give me a yes if you'd walk away from that in a second. If you were looking at that thinking, why in the hell would you ever be with somebody like that? But then again, welcome to the world of love. Love is complex. Love makes us do things that make us feel stupid, but we do it anyway because love is like a drug. Love really affects us. But also, it's kind of interesting because I connected to the culture because what it does is it puts this unnecessary, unfair pressure on men to basically say, if you're not willing to lose it all, then I'm not willing to be with you. Right. Like if you're not willing to get gangster in every area of your life, I'll give you an example. When I was 21, I kid you not, there was a girl I really liked, and I thought she liked me. And then she started dating another guy who killed people for a living. I kid you not, this dude carried a strap and would kill people and get money for killing people. And so I remember her saying that, she looked at my life and I was just this boring college student. All I wanted to do was like make good grades and get a good job. This dude was out killing people. And I was like, I don't know how to compete with that. And she was telling me that I was boring, that, all you want to talk about is school. And I'm like, yeah, because education is important. And he's fun and this, and this. And I'm like, so I got to go out and start killing people to make you think that I'm cool, to make you think that I'm like a good man to be with. I don't get that. So fortunately, I walked away from that. I said, well, you know what? Y'all go on and just do your Bonnie and Clyde shit, and good luck to you. And he ended up going to prison for a very long time, by the way, because that's how that stuff ends. But I remember just thinking, what is wrong with a black man just being kind of a square, right? It doesn't mean you have to be boring in every way. But what's wrong with a black man just saying, I just want to work hard and take care of my family and be responsible? Where did the culture come from? Pay attention. This is connected to wealth and everything that's happening in your families. Where is this culture that comes out saying you got to destroy your life to impress a woman? That's as ignorant as, ladies, that's as ignorant as when a man says, well, if you love me, you'll let me take the condom off. How many of y'all have heard that? How many of y'all heard a man say, if you really love me, then you'll let me sleep with you you let me raw dog and put all my little viruses inside your body? How many of y'all have ever seen men who think like that? That ain't cool. Just in case you're wondering, if you are a man and you're in that category, please stop doing that. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Because there are people that literally will tell you to put your life on the line just to get their affection. They will tell you to ruin yourself in order to maintain your position in their life. And if you don't have the ability, the wherewithal to stand up against that, then you're going to end up being dragged into situations that will destroy you. And what I liked about the video, and I put the video on my Instagram, it's the real Boyce Watkins. What I liked about the video was I liked the way Fresher said, "I'm not doing that." I said, "That's it. There you go. That's what you do." And here's the thing: I'm not going to sit here and say that he needs to dump the fiance, because obviously there's a reason that he loves her, and he did predicate his statement by saying, "I love you more than life itself, but I'm not doing that." Right, and I like that a lot, because he was exerting his masculinity and in a way that was hopefully productive and non-toxic. And I think they could work it out. I think they could sit down maybe with some sort of therapist or something and kind of figure it all out. But I think at the same time, it does speak to the idea that when you are merging your life with another person, it is extremely important that you take time to assess their value system. You got to assess their value system. Let me explain. I'm gonna explain it with a Snoop Dogg quote in a minute. But before I do that, if you could take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up. Make sure you share and subscribe. This podcast is actually on Spotify and Apple. So if you look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, you can find it there. Also, I want to remind everybody that we actually have these financial flashcards for kids. We actually have some on real estate now, and we have stock market investing as well as even credit. And so these cards are a great way to teach wealth to your kids. So if you'd like to teach your kids about wealth with our financial flashcards we have in the Black Business School, feel free to go to financialflashcards.com. I'll put the URL on the screen so you guys can see it. That's financialflashcards.com. Or if you're on Instagram, you can hit the link in the bio. And we also have financial workbooks as well. So feel free to go take a look in the store. All right. So here's the thing. So one thing that's interesting about this too is that the problem with being a successful rapper, in my opinion, the problem that Fresher probably has, that a lot of guys have, is that there's something about that culture, the toxic side, not all of it, but there's something about that culture that boxes you in, that locks you in to never be having the room to actually grow and become a man. You're kind of locked into being a little boy for life. And also the types of women that you attract is affected by the culture that you're in. So you're out here in this this fake ass gangster culture, where guys are getting RICO charges and getting 50 years in prison. I mean, you see that happening right now in Atlanta, where guys were rapping about who they were killing, which to me is just strategically unintelligent on every level. Like, why would you kill somebody and then rap about it? How about you just keep it to yourself? I wouldn't tell nobody. I wouldn't tell my wife, my brother, nobody. That would just be the secret I keep with Boyce. But I'm not making fun of it. I feel bad for those guys. And so you're in this culture that's just got all where white folks have pretty much trained you to celebrate all the things that destroy you. You've been trained to remain like a child. You've been trained to disrespect your women. You've been trained to throw your money away. You've been trained to want to kill each other. You've been trained to celebrate your own genocide. You've been trained to even celebrate going to prison, right? So that is what you're in. So then what happens is you start to, so you're attracting people who also think the same way. It's almost like when you meet somebody at the club. And let's say that one day you wake up and you say, dang, I don't want to go to the club every Friday anymore. I want to go to the library now. I want to go to church. I want to go spend time with my friends. I want to go do something. I want to go to an art gallery. I don't want to go to the club every Friday. Well, if you met somebody in the club, they're going to want to keep going to the club, right? Which is going to cause a problem in your relationships, right? How you meet somebody is going to shape the person that you're dealing with for life. Like, I met my wife in the library. And years later, my wife is a professor like me, and we still go to the library. And there's never been one conversation I've ever had with my library ass wife about going and hanging out at the club, getting high every day, going out and getting lit and going to the streets and just acting a damn fool. Nothing. When my wife and I got married, I said, I want to spend this much on the wedding because I think we can afford it. And she said, why would we spend that much? Why don't we take that money and put it as a down payment on some property? Like, that's her thought process, right? And so, but I'm thinking, if I was a rapper, if I was cursed by being, let's say, a successful rapper, I would have met some woman who was attracted to the bling and to the flash and to the fast life. So later on, when I'm trying to plan and make long-term commitments and long-term visions, implement long-term visions with this person who's addicted to the fast life, they're not going to be ready for that. It's like it'll be like explaining calculus to a 4-year-old. You're trying to run a marathon with somebody who ain't never ran more than a 100-meter dash. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? So when he says we're supposed to invest that, well, I remember Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was trying to defend some of the language he used toward women, which I never liked it, right? I didn't think it was cool when he'd be like, we don't love them hoes. And he would use the B word a lot and all that, which I think Snoop still has to make amends for that because I don't think that was ever cool. But Snoop was trying to explain it by saying this. It almost made a little bit of sense. He said the women that we meet, they're not the ladies. They're not the intelligent women. We don't meet the women that are, the quality ladies that you're thinking about. He said we meet women in the strip club. We meet women, when we out partying, like we meet groupies, right? And that's a different kind of woman, like in terms of mindset, right? That's just a fact. Tell me if I'm wrong. But as a rapper, you're gonna attract a certain kind of woman who's going to expect you to behave in a certain kind of way. And what she is attracted to initially is what she's always going to expect. You presented this artificial Superman persona, like I'm gangster, I will bang over bacon, I'll shoot somebody if they look at my woman wrong. I might go steal your car, I'm gonna go sling some dope, I'm gonna be high and drunk whenever I can, I'm gonna make it rain whenever possible, whatever, right? And that's what they're attracted to. Right. So that's the mindset of his fiance, I would imagine, is that she's looking at him to be the crazy self-destructive rapper that so many other artists are. And I don't know how you get somebody out of that. I mean, if you're trying to grow and you're like, well, okay, now we're 35, we're not 25 anymore. Now we got to make family plans. Now we have to invest. Now we can't go to the club every week, maybe once every 3 months. We have to start. Maybe I can't go and be down with the same homies that I was down with when I was in the street. Maybe I have to actually do something a little different. Maybe I'm like Jay-Z. I'm now 40 years old. I don't wear long. Remember, Jay-Z told him, he said, I'm not wearing those long jerseys anymore. I want to go and wear suits now, and I want to be Beyonce's husband. I don't want to be the player pimp that I claimed to be when I was 28. What was that song? Big Pimpin' Spinning Cheese, right? I'm not big pimping no more. I'm doing the wedding, the marriage husband thing because that's more appropriate for me at the age of 45. Now I want to go sit with Warren Buffett. I don't want to sit with the homies who are on their way to prison, right? That's a natural evolution into manhood that should be honored and respected. But that's not always what people want to see. That's not what people expect from you. So if you're trying to grow and you're with somebody who won't grow, it's a very, very difficult transition to make. He may end up having to switch fiancés because it sounded to me, the language I heard from this guy, his name was Fresher. I don't know. His real name is somewhere around, but I don't remember what it was. But I heard him talk about investing. I heard him talking about holding down. I heard him talking about financial security, holding down financial security for the house. And I just don't know if his fiance, at least when it comes to the wedding part, really got that. He mentioned that she hadn't had a job in years, so she's not contributing financially to the household. I don't know what she's contributing. Maybe she's contributing something else. But I will tell you, I think that after a man gets about 35, I think saying I contribute like sex to the household, I don't know if that's enough. Like that, I just don't think that's really going to work as well. Or I contribute looking good to the household. It doesn't mean she doesn't contribute, but I'd be curious to know what she does contribute. And so who you are, how you present yourself is going to determine who you attract. And who you attract is going to determine what you can build with. So if you're attracting people who are into instant gratification, like if you're an Instagram model who attracts a bunch of men who like you because you have a big booty, then when you start trying to have serious conversations with those men about, commitment and loving you for reasons other than your body and all these other things, you're probably going to have a hard time because of what you were bringing in the door in the first place. And I think sometimes we forget about the quality of the attention as opposed to the quantity. Sometimes getting a lot of likes, you may think that they're liking you because they really want to be with you or they want to actually commit to you. They just hitting the like button because they thought you looked great in that dress, right? And the same thing, the equivalent for men, for celebrity men, I imagine, is that women who love the celebrity don't always want the man. They don't want the man that's going to grow. They don't want the man that's going to evolve. They want the celebrity that they admired and they looked up to. Where am I getting this from? Well, I'm getting it from some real life experience. I'm not a rapper. Never have been, but I've been kind of famous for a long time, like maybe a D-list celebrity or something. I'm not a real, I don't consider myself a celebrity at all, but I've signed thousands of autographs and met people and all around the world and all that, right? And what would happen is that when I was single and I would meet women, they knew me before I met them. That was very awkward too. A lot of them would already know everything about me, and I know nothing about them. And then I would attract a lot of attractive, intelligent Black women who liked men who are smart, but they also had a certain image of me because they looked up and admired Dr. Boyce. And that might seem great at first. That's awesome if you're looking for groupies. If that's what you want, then it's awesome. Being a famous man means if you want an endless supply, that's all out there, it's all available, right? But then when you're thinking, gosh, I want somebody who can see the vulnerabilities in me. I want them to be able to see not me when I'm Superman. I want them to be able to see the broken down parts of me and still love that part of me. That's a whole different process. A groupie don't want all that. A groupie, it's no different from a man that sees you with all your makeup on all the time. You looking like Beyonce, and he's fallen in love with Beyonce. He did not fall in love with the lady who's bloated and on her period and overweight because she just had a baby and her hair, she don't took her weave out and her makeup's off and she's being crabby, right? That's a different version that he has to get to know. And you got to know if he's got the interest in that version of you in addition to this other version. So my wife, if you want to know what my thought process was in terms of who I chose to marry, I liked marrying my wife because my wife knew me when I was literally unknown to anybody. She knew me when I was a 22-year-old graduate student and still wanted to hang out with me when I was a 22-year-old graduate student. I just never asked her out. That's why we never actually dated until later on. But she always said, if you just asked me out, I would have gone out with you. But honestly, I was a little shy. I didn't really learn how to talk to girls until I got older. I had to read a book about it because I didn't have any good like male role models to explain that stuff. That part I never got explained. I had to figure that out on my own. And that's the honest to God truth. That's really honestly what happened. And so, but yeah, it's nice. I like you think about it. LeBron. Pay attention. Think about LeBron James. LeBron James has an endless supply of groupies. He has an endless supply of women that would do anything he wants at any time that he wants. Why did he marry Savannah, his high school sweetheart? The LeBron has probably literally met 10,000 women since he met Savannah, but Savannah stands out. Well, why? Because Savannah knows the other side of LeBron and accepts that part of him. Everyone else, you don't know if they really like that part of you or they're just pretending so they can get close to your money and your whatever. And the other little thing I think is true too is I don't really know how other people think, but I know that generally getting access to a man's money is easier if that's not your primary focus. But if you but most people that have money can smell gold diggers from a mile away. You know, I've had money for a long time. I can tell quickly if somebody's trying to manipulate me or trying to get access to something I have. You can just smell it, and you can just tell like, oh Lord, here we go again, same conversation again. You know, and so ultimately, I think with this guy, I think that if he's picking a new fiance, I would encourage him to pick a woman that's on that same wavelength. Like pick a woman that's gonna where you say, hey babe, I want to get us a nice wedding, but I also want to invest. You want a wife that's gonna cheer for that. You don't want a wife that's gonna punish you for being a responsible man. You don't want a wife that's gonna get mad at you because you're thinking about the long-term financial benefit of the family. So it doesn't mean she's a bad person. It just means that she has different economic values. It's like a person that eats health food trying to marry somebody who wants to eat fast food. It just ain't. Some of those things just don't work, so I wish him the best because this lady's gonna be real expensive, and really generally the best way a woman can show respect to a man is by respecting his resources, and then vice versa. I think that because now you see a lot of couples where the man actually has less money or less income than the woman, and I think that anybody who has wealth, that's building wealth, you want to be in a relationship with somebody who's going to support your objective of building wealth. You also want a person who's going to respect the wealth and income that you have. Now, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I don't mention it much, but I do actually have a book you guys can go feel free to check out. It's it's a Black American money book. It's a series. There's a series of Black American money books I have. So if you are interested in the books that I've written, feel free to go to drboycebooks.com or you can go to boycewatkins.com. Also on Friday the 13th, we're doing our financial slumber party where we're going to get together on a Zoom at 11 o'clock at night on Friday the 13th, and we're going to spend 3 hours going through financial stuff. And I'm going to make you the best investor in your family. I'm also going to give you access to the recordings for life. It belongs to you after we're done, and we're just going to have some fun. So it's just something new, something fun we're trying out. And a lot of you have already signed up, so it must be of interest to you. So feel free to join us at our financial slumber party. If that's of interest to you, just go to boycewatkins.com. You can sign up. I guarantee by the time you're done, you'll be the best investor in your family, and you'll be able to destabilize and undermine any of the myths and nonsense that people throw at you to tell you why investing doesn't work or why investing's bad. You'll be able to just shoot it down really easily. So that's the goal for that night. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com if you'd like to join. Now, a couple things that were also said in this video where the rapper Fresher is trying to explain to his wife why, or future wife, why he doesn't want to spend $250,000 on a wedding. I remember him talking about investing. He talked about the fact that his wife hasn't worked in years. I think that that's interesting too. I wonder what his value system is to make him feel like that's okay. Is he making enough money that is not a problem? Because that is true. If a man has enough money or a woman has enough money, that money isn't a thing. Like if my wife told me I don't want to work anymore, I would not care. I'd say, okay, what are you going to do? What are you into? And my goal to support her in terms of wanting her to live her best life is to say, well, what would you like to spend your time on? And if she just says, hey, I'd like to work on a book for 3 years, but I don't want to go to work every day, I'd say, okay, I'd support that. And the part of the reason I'd be able to be so supportive is because the money's there. Right, the financial security is there, the income's there. It's like, okay, fine, I got the bills, no problem. Also, the conditions have to be right for that to occur. If you're living above your means, where your money, your bills are like up to here, and you're barely trying to hold on to get air, well, then no, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's why you go down here. Being humble. See, this is another reason why rappers go broke. A lot of reasons rappers go broke is because rappers ain't trained to be humble. To be a big time rapper or big time like professional athlete, humility is not seen as a virtue. Being humble is seen as a bad thing. So instead, it's like you gotta just believe you're Superman and tell everybody you're Superman and put yourself in all kinds of situations that might eventually be over your head, overspend like crazy. I got 10 cars in my driveway. Why you need 10 cars? You can only drive one. You're paying everybody's rent, paying everybody's bills, trying to be the financial Superman. And then when something goes wrong, you are not ready. When the checks stop coming in, the records stop selling, the concerts stop filling up, you're not prepared for all of the expenses that you've built up. So living below your means should be just a standard. I mean, that's how you do. That's how you get rid of the stress. You say, okay, what can I actually afford? And then you say, okay, I'm gonna live off of 1/3 of what I believe I can actually afford so that the rest can go into my investments and into my savings so I can be prepared for a rainy day, so that I can be economically strapped in case something bad goes wrong in my life. So when he says his wife hasn't worked in years, I hope that the money's good. I've not heard of Fresher's records or his music, but maybe he's making money somehow. I wish him the best in that, but I really think that was that made me curious. And then also she said, I'm not a city hall bitch. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was kind of ghetto and ratchet, but at the same time, I'd be curious to know. I think if you're in a relationship like that where somebody says something like that, I would love to hear what a therapist has to say in terms of helping her to express herself without sounding so ratchet and crazy and triggering. Right? All that yelling back and forth is just not cool. But the reason she yelled is probably because she was feeling insulted that he wasn't willing to give her the wedding that she feels like she deserves. Because I think he did say something like, why don't we go down to City Hall? Right. So you're going from one extreme to the other. You're going from a $250,000 wedding to going down to City Hall. There's a million places you can meet in the middle. So just saying, let's go to City Hall. Yeah, that is going to make somebody mad, especially in their mind. They're visualizing this big, beautiful wedding. And really, I think kind of understanding that in the beginning and how people see that is really important, because y'all don't have you have no idea how many people are in debt because they got married. And there are people that go so deep in debt when they get married that they are still in debt by the time they get the divorce. So when they get the divorce, they are financially destroyed because not only are they still paying for the divorce, they're also still paying for the wedding. You don't want to talk about bitter. You don't talk about being mad. Imagine having bills coming in, credit card bills coming in for a wedding that to a person that you're not even married to anymore. Like there are people that are in that situation. So you got the wedding bills you got to pay, the divorce debt you got to pay, student loan debt you got to repay. How in the hell are you supposed to get ahead financially in that situation? How in the world do you think that you can live with that mindset and have a positive net worth? I remember. Let me explain this too. A lot of corporations they play with your mind when it comes to how much you're supposed to spend on weddings as well as like wedding bands and engagement rings. I remember. See, you don't understand. This was a marketing campaign. The diamond industry. They did one of the best campaigns in history in the 1960s. Anybody, give me a yes or no if you've ever heard that term. Diamonds are blank. Diamonds are what? What are diamonds? Put it in the chat. Don't even give me a yes or no. Put it in the chat. Diamonds are blank. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sip my coffee while we hit the thumbs up button. Y'all tell me. Finish that sentence for me, please. The diamonds are what? Diamonds are forever, and diamonds are a girl's best friend. Yes. Who told you that diamonds are a girl's best friend? I thought Shaquita was your best friend. I mean, why? When did diamonds become your best friend? When did diamonds become forever? Well, those were marketing campaigns. The De Beers family that controls all these diamonds all throughout South Africa, and it's crazy. South Africa is ridiculously racist in the sense that, the scenario of South Africa is crazy. How there's like so many black people, and there's a few small white families that control all the wealth. They basically were like, how do we sucker people in to get them to spend their last dollar buying a damn diamond? Oh, I know what we do. We tell them, we run campaigns like Diamonds Are Forever. That was an award-winning campaign. That was seen as one of the greatest ad campaigns in history because they were like, damn, they got in people's heads to the point where they got them believing that diamonds are more important than they actually are. They artificially restrict the supply of diamonds. There's more than enough diamonds to sell them really cheap, but they restrict the supply so that the price will stay high. And then also, they fooled women into believing that diamonds are the girl's best friend. So then the other thing they did that was really powerful was they got you to link the quality of the diamond to how much the man actually loved you. They got you to make that connection. You've got the infinitely valuable thing called love, where you can't put a price tag on love, and they've gotten you to connect and to tether the price you'll spend on a diamond to the amount of love you have for another human being. So they've attached something that is invaluable to something that has a finite value, which pulls up the value of the diamond. That puts pressure on you and pressure on the man. There's social pressure. Now women are embarrassed to show a cheap little ring because other women will be like, oh, he must not really like you that much, girl. He must not love you like that, right? And then the man is like, dang, well, if I don't get her a nice diamond, then she's not gonna think I care about her, right? What in the hell does your love have to do with the size of the rock on your finger? Who did that to you? Who trained you to even think that way? I'm not saying diamonds aren't nice and diamonds can't be, that you shouldn't get a nice ring for the engagement, but love and somebody actually caring about you beyond the money, that has to be somewhere in the equation. And I can tell you this too, again, as a man, I'm a rich man. I've had money for a long time. I'll be damned if I was going to marry a woman who was telling me that, oh, you must not love me because you didn't get me a nice ring. Fine, buy yourself a ring and get engaged to somebody else, because it sure as hell wasn't going to be me, because you're not going to take something as precious and as valuable as the love I'm giving you and equate it to some stupid little rock that you putting on your finger. I don't give a damn about that rock. It's about the symbolism of what we're doing here. This is meaningful. This is a life bond. We're connecting for life. Like, I'm loving you down to the core of your soul. And you're telling me that the jewelry store controls all of that? That I got to go spend time with the jewelry store to convince you that I care about you? Get out of here with that nonsense. I'm not saying everybody should think the way I think. People have different value systems. I'm not blaming them for believing something different, but that's crazy. And that is all done by corporate America. That is done by their ability to train you to be the perfect consumer. And I remember seeing this when I remember years ago seeing that some commercial telling me that, or it was a billboard or something saying that a diamond or an engagement ring should be 2 months' salary. And at that time, I was making about $10,000 a month, and I said, so to get engaged, I got to spend $20,000. Fuck you. Like, I'm not doing that. Excuse my French. I'm sorry. I was like, no, I'm not spending $20,000 on a ring, and I'm not going to marry a woman who expects me to do that. No woman that loves me is going to put that kind of pressure on me. She knows I'm good for it. She knows I'm gonna take care of her. She knows I'm gonna come through financially. But if you're putting that kind of weight on a man, I just don't think any man in their right mind is gonna sign up for that. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, but maybe again, every man, I'm a financial expert, I guess, right? That's my PhD, right? So maybe I think about things different, but I'm telling you, if you want to know why people go broke, if you want to know why people have financial problems, it's because of little decisions like this. I just don't get it. So equating love with jewelry, I think that's kind of a no-no. I also think that this rapper Fresher, you have to ask yourself, what did you attract? You're a rapper. Rappers attract lots of groupies who are attracted to the bling and the instant gratification. So whatever they're attracted to, you got to keep it up. That's the hard part. So if you attracted somebody based on a charade that you want to live on the edge and make all these crazy decisions financially and otherwise that might get you locked up or leave you broke, then you got to maintain that. They're going to expect that. They're going to say, okay, well, this is the package that you sold me when I came in. So sometimes not attracting a person is better than attracting them. Sometimes it's like, I don't really want you to think I'm anything other than what I actually am. And whatever you think I am, I need it to be an image that I can maintain because I can't pretend for the rest of my life. So if you're trying to evolve and be financially intelligent and conservative and everything else, and she's expecting you to like throw your money away like a rapper, then you might need to find somebody better. There's other women out there. Like you're a rapper, you're a smart man, I guess you're a handsome dude. Like there's other people to be engaged with. And I really don't think being engaged to somebody who wants you to go broke is necessarily a good move, because then when you go broke, they're going to leave you anyway. Right? It's not like she's presenting the image. And I'm really talking about this from a perspective of really thinking about how we might evaluate our partners, right? So think about this. If you got somebody who is mad at you because you won't blow money you don't even have, blow $250,000 on a wedding, then what do you think that person's going to do when you are financially struggling and you can't pay the bills anymore because you spent all that money on the wedding? They're not going to stick around. That's not a ride or die. That's somebody who's going to ride the train as long as the money's flowing. And I know that some people want to put this all on Black women. I see guys that say, see, this is what these women do. This is why we get passports. Now, I'm not saying don't get a passport. I'm not saying don't find your wife wherever you want to find her. But don't just understand this and I hope you will confirm this for me. Give me a yes in the chat if you agree with me when I say that this woman's behavior is not reflective of the majority of Black women. Give me a yes if we can agree on that, because I hate when people point out a deranged, ridiculous, outrageous Black woman and say, this is what they all do. This is what they all do. I think men, we have to take accountability for the fact that we will chase the big booty hoes on Instagram with the fake hair and the fake nails and the fake personality, and then get mad when she showed you who she is. Seriously, it's ridiculous. Like, stop that. Like, stop acting like the women are the ones who have the problem and the men are perfect. We ain't perfect. Some of the stuff that some of the men that do stuff that I've seen do stuff toward Black women is just downright embarrassing. I would look at when Tory Lanez shot that girl in the foot, and I'm sorry, the jury convicted him. I know y'all want to believe, some of y'all want to believe he's innocent. No, the jury and the prosecutors looked at the evidence, and he even damn near confessed to doing something wrong. He said, I did something. He shot that gun. That's what he said in that jailhouse confession. But I'm not going to go into that. We can debate that later. But when I saw that, I said, that's embarrassing. And I hate the fact that you're labeling me as a Black man as somebody who would even condone this kind of behavior. I tell men all the time, Don't go out here and get drunk and then go punch your girlfriend in the face or shoot her in the foot or whatever. Stop messing with alcohol and drugs. They market that stuff to you because they want you to do things that are going to ruin your life, and you're going to pay a heavy price for it. You spend 30 years in prison over something you did while you were drunk. You're going to have 30 years of regrets. I know people like this. I know men in prison right now who did things while they were high or drunk where they got 50 years in prison. I know one guy who got 50 years in prison, and all he talks about all the time is don't do what I did. And all he says is, I wish I'd listened to my daddy, and I wish I hadn't got involved in drugs. So I'm sitting there trying to just scream as loud as I can, and I hope people will join me and at least accept me when I do this. And I probably sound a little crazy when I do it, but I gotta do this. We gotta warn these guys. Like, this is crazy to me. So the same way you don't want like the ridiculous behavior of one black man to reflect on you as a black man, stop taking the ridiculous behavior of one black woman and saying, well, this is what all those black women do. There are plenty of first of all, Negro, black women have held you down since before slavery. Let's just be clear. Like when we were on the plantation and Master was coming to kill us, the black woman was the one who hid us in the basement and made sure we didn't die that day and dropped food down into the basement so we could eat while Master was looking for us or whatever, right? So just understand the black woman's held you down since before slavery. Your mother held you down when nobody cared about you. I think that's important to understand. Second of all, if a black woman disappoints you in your life, there's a good chance you just picked the wrong woman, maybe. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a reflection of you. Again, I see men that will go after certain girls because they look good without looking to see if they really are good. She's a good looking woman, but is she a good looking person? Is she a good human being? I know like when I pick my wife, let me just say this. I don't want to use an example. I'm not trying to put on a pedestal, nothing, but I'll give credit where it's due. My wife grew up poor. She grew up in the hood. We got money, yeah. But she's made it very clear to me many times, if the money ever disappeared, it would be okay. She's literally said, boys, if your business ever fails, don't worry. I make good money. I can take care of both of us. That was cool to hear. That was nice to hear. Hopefully, I'll never have to test that theory. But there are women who do think that way. There are women who will sit there with you in the mud, in the gutter, work with you side by side to accomplish something. Right now, what I think has to occur though is that those of us who love black people. Now, if you don't love black people, then I can't help you. You can go marry a lady from Romania or something, or go get you a dude from England or something. I know I've seen women do that. I've seen women go out and marry men who are not black because they think black men are garbage, and I've seen men who feel like, okay, I got to go to Brazil to find a woman because I can't be with an African American woman. That's fine. Take your trauma and your issues and just drop them onto somebody else and traumatize them because you haven't dealt with your shit. That's what that is. That is just simply projection, right? And because I can just tell you that, especially for men, that if you show up as a healthy, quality person, then you will at the very least know how to pick healthy, quality women to have in your life. If you have women around you that have constantly traumatized you and hurt you, which that's what's really happening. That's what's happening in the manosphere. These are hurt men. They've gone through things. Then you have to really think about what you're looking for. If you think that a woman is a good catch because of how pretty she is, or even when Kevin Samuels was alive and he would ask women their dress size as if that was a really important variable in what you should use in your criteria to pick a woman, well, then you're going to end up with some crappy women. There are some really horrible women. Let me just say this. Give me a yes in the chat if you understand what I'm saying. There are some really terrible women who have a really good dress size. There are some really absolutely horrible women who are the prettiest thing you'll ever see in your life. So that woman's beauty can suck you in and get you chasing a woman who will break your heart and destroy you, have kids with you and not let you see your kids, take every penny out of your bank account. And some of them, because they know how fine they are, they know how many other men are chasing them besides you, so they will milk you like a damn cow until your udders fall off and you lay there crying and up in the manosphere about how terrible women and how terrible women are and how women ain't nothing, right? There are women out there like that. And then there are women that are just good people that don't want you to hurt them. That's it. They just want a man to treat them well, to understand that you can be a decent guy without feeling like a simp. Like to me, when I think of the word simp, I think about that guy who was yelling at his kids. Anybody see that video? You had that guy who was literally screaming at his kids and saying, like, I'm not picking y'all up no more because your mama want to put me on child support. And I'm sorry. I know there's probably context to it, and then maybe there's more to the story than we saw. But my Lord Jesus, first of all, if you're a real man, you're not gonna bring any of that shit to the children. You don't bring that stuff to the kids. So this is just a memo for anybody that wants to be a real man. You don't go whining about that stuff to the children, because the children had nothing to do with it. They had nothing to do with why you and that lady chose to get together and make a baby and then not want to take responsibility for the baby that you made. And then number two, you know, this idea that somehow child support is evil is a very strange concept. I would just say any woman, if you ever hear a man talk like that, you really kind of need to pick a different man. Not to say that the child support system is fair. And I've been in the child support system. I spent 18 years paying child support, and I didn't like it. And it was very I didn't like, also it felt unfair that I was paying so much money and I didn't have any say in where the money was going. It was like taxation without representation. But at the same time, I'm really trying to understand who these people are that think that you can raise a child for free. Like, I'm really trying to figure out. Like, I've heard people say, like, I remember hearing a woman say something like, "Yeah, he's a really good father. He really takes care of his kids." And I said, "Really, what does he do?" And you know what she said? She said he buys Pampers every week. And I said, "Okay, so you can so babies can eat Pampers every day for breakfast? Like, is that so? Having Pampers once a week, is that's enough to actually take care of a child?" Like I said, so let's flip it. I said, what if all you had to do was buy Pampers for your baby once a week? Would that sustain your child? What would happen to your child if all you did was buy her Pampers once a week? Would that work? And I'm not sitting here trying to say that everything's fair. I'm not trying to say that the drama isn't messy, but I am trying to say that you have a choice. You have a choice, and the biggest investment that you ever make when it comes to your wealth is who you choose to spend your life with. And if you choose based on a big button and smile, or if you choose men based on how good they look, how good looking they are, how much money they make, or how much swag they have, then you are pretty much asking for a ton of trouble. You're asking for a ton of trouble. In my view, and this is going back to investing, this is how investments are done. If you make an investment and you're investing a substantial amount of money in a business, you spend a lot of time vetting that business. If you're going to make a big business deal with a potential partner, you spend a lot of time vetting that partner. So there's no bigger investment that you will ever make than the investment of your life. When you choose to lay down with a person or have a relationship with a person, you're investing your life in that person. That person could kill you. They could give you a disease that kills you. They could be a murderer and kill you. They could ruin the lives of your children, right? Which is worse than death sometimes. So before you make that investment, it would seem to me that it's just logical to say that a smart person is going to take time to get to know people before you let them in your life. This is probably one of the more radical things that I'll say during this podcast, but it's not radical at all. It's actually common sense. It just seems radical to you because people don't do it. And if you don't believe me when I tell you that I know I'm right about this, look at how many people there are on the internet who are complaining about their damn baby daddies or complaining about their baby's mamas. Look at how many people on the internet are saying or claiming that the reason they can't get ahead is because that raggedy blankety blank won't let me see my kids, or she won't do this and she did that to me, or this man did this to me and this man did that to me. This man shot me in the toe because he got drunk and shot me. Well, why are you dating a man who gets drunk and carries a gun on his hip anyway? Oh, I get it, Megan. You were attracted to the thug culture, and nobody ever told you that thugs be thugging. That if you date a thug, he's gonna thug out on you one day, get drunk, pull out his gun, shoot you in the toe, and then you get to claim that you're a victim. Every black woman ain't gonna be in that situation. Seriously. So I just think choices matter. And smart people that are successful make good choices. And vetting people before you let them in your life, I'm probably more sensitive to it because I've let the wrong people in my life and it was disastrous. And at the end of the day, I had to stop and look at myself and say, well, Boyce, what did you do to allow this to happen? You could sit back in the corner and say, oh, I'm a victim. Black women are so mean. Black women are so bad. Look at what black women do to black men. This black woman hurt me. That's all black women do. I'm gonna go to Brazil and find me nice women who won't hurt me. Like they ain't no gold diggers in Brazil. You know, whatever, right? I'm gonna go to Europe and find me a woman because the European women, they know how to treat men. No, or I could actually just say, maybe what did I miss there? What did I miss? because in our community we have healthy people and we have unhealthy people. We probably have more unhealthy people than healthy people. I'm an unhealthy person. In fact, if you've been traumatized or if you've went through some horrible stuff and it imbalances you in certain ways, triggers you in certain ways, give me a yes in the chat. If you will even admit that you have some unhealthy areas that you got to address. I'm an unhealthy person. I took a trauma exam, or the ACEs test. It stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. I took the ACEs test and I scored sky high on trauma. So much trauma. The ACEs test is everybody should take it. Hit the thumbs up button while I look it up. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna read some of the questions that they ask on the ACEs test. Do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. All right, so the ACEs test. I'm gonna try to read some of the questions on the ACEs test. It asks you things like give me a yes in the chat if you saw any of these, had any of these experiences when you were a kid. Did you have a parent or someone that was addicted to some sort of drug or alcohol? Say yes in the chat if you went through that, or a sibling or something like that. Did you deal with parental separation or divorce? Give me a yes in the chat if you dealt with that. Did you have someone in your house that struggled with mental illness, that had a mental health issue? Give me a yes in the chat if you're in that category. Did your parents have any violence toward each other? Give me a yes in the chat. Did you deal with anybody in the house that engaged in some sort of criminal behavior? Give me a yes in the chat. Did you deal with anybody in your house that was incarcerated, a sibling or someone that was incarcerated? Give me a yes in the chat. Okay, so there's more questions I could keep asking you that we would answer. And the thing is that these traumatic experiences make us unhealthy. Like my father not being there when I was a baby and going out and instead getting hooked on drugs and going to prison. That affects me, right? That affected me. I was raised by a stepfather who overcame a drug addiction, who was a good guy, but he wasn't always perfect. You know, there's a lot of tough times I had to deal with my father. We also dealt with some poverty. We dealt with some emotional issues and all kinds of things. So to me, in my view, part of being healthy is at least acknowledging how unhealthy you are, and then taking the steps to improve yourself so you can show up in a healthy way for other people. And then also you'll love yourself enough to ensure that you can identify other unhealthy people and not go and connect with those individuals because of whatever bias you have that came from your childhood. Like if you're a little girl your daddy abandoned you or your daddy abused you, you got a lot of stuff you got to work through. Like you can't go out here dating, like without fixing some of that and dealing with some of that, or you're going to end up with the wrong men and making the wrong choices and being mad at men and all this other stuff. And so I kind of think that mental health needs to become a priority for Black people. Now I know financial health is very important, but I've learned, I talk about mental health because you can't have financial health without mental health most of the time. If you don't have mental health, then everything that you naturally are inclined to do is going to destroy whatever wealth you have. Like if you're a traumatized rapper who was raised to believe you're supposed to be banging over bacon every morning and engaged in the thug life constantly and getting in fights at the club and slapping women and shooting people and all this other stuff, well, eventually your money's gonna be gone because first of all, you're gonna be out here having sex with women, stacking up babies, mamas, child support's gonna eat up your wealth. You're gonna end up getting into situations that'll probably cause you to get sued at some point. So you're going to lose your money that way. You're going to be addicted to a culture that is built on instant gratification, which is a great way to lose all your money because you're a heavy consumer and you need those endorphin rushes to kind of make you feel better. So you're constantly doing these things that are built on impulse as opposed to long-term strategic planning. So that lack of long-term strategic planning is going to lead you to actually have a decline in your wealth long-term. There is almost no way that a mentally unhealthy person can obtain wealth and keep that wealth 9 times out of 10. Every now and then somebody might get lucky where maybe people pay you money for being crazy. But at some point, your mental health will destroy your wealth. For example, look at Kanye West. Kanye, he made a lot of money for being crazy. People liked his crazy, but eventually it got to the point where his mental health cost him $4 billion. and counting. Kanye, don't be surprised if there comes a day where Kanye has nothing. I don't know where that's going for him. And I like a lot of other people tried to help him. I talked to him for hours to try to, see if I could persuade him on some things. He's very determined to just do what he wants to do, and he's very determined to not get help. I think that's going to cost him big time. That's just my honest to God assessment on that. And I would encourage you to do the work on yourself so you can figure out who am I and where am I and what do I want to be and where do I want to be? Why am I not there? And how do I fix the areas that are holding me back? So that's one of the things we've been doing in the Black Business School is we have been trying our best to help with that. That's why we created the Black Financial Therapy Department, because I talked to my wife about it and I said, we got a lot of sick people in our community, including myself, and we all need to go get help. So if you want to know my personal assessment, I don't just talk about it. I want to be about it. I talk to my therapist all the time, and it's a little weird as a Black man to admit to that because people think that having a therapist means something's wrong with you. So I'm here to say, yeah, I have a therapist. Maybe there's something is wrong with me because I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best to get better. And I think that is that first step. And so even if you're dealing with imperfect people, I would maybe one measuring stick of whether or not that person is good for you is to say, are they at least acknowledging their issues and working on those issues and taking advice on those issues? And that's where, for example, that's where I think Kanye's kind of making a mistake is Kanye doesn't take much advice well. And I don't talk to him anymore because I just got kind of tired of I had other more important things to do. But I will really wish if he were a person that could humble himself, again, this is where hip hop culture is bad. Hip hop does not teach rappers to be humble. So they just believe, not all of them, but many of them just kind of think I'm Superman. White people are paying me money to act a fool. I'm supposed to just do whatever I want and I don't have to listen to anybody. And then they don't start listening until something terrible happens. So when young rappers, OGs come along and they tell young rappers, hey, if you keep doing this, you're going to get a RICO charge or the police are going to come get you or this is going to happen to you. They don't listen. And then they start listening once it's too late. Once you've got that 30-year prison sentence or once you've lost all your money, then they turn back to the Black community, which is where the wisdom is. We've got a lot of wise people in our community. And I think we should start listening to the wise people as much as we listen to or more than we listen to the people that are on TV. Don't let white people determine which Black people you're going to pay attention to because they're only typically going to promote the Black people that are going to destroy or enslave you. You have to break out of that cycle. So that's my 2 cents on the issue. My summary on what is the rapper Fresh? I think that's his name. And his fiance is. I would probably tell him if you can hack it, just get another fiance because it sounds like you're growing in a direction that she's not interested in growing. But maybe if you love her, maybe go see a therapist. Maybe a therapist can help you find that middle ground. And I hope that you can make enough money to make her happy because it sounds to me like if you ever go broke and you're really in the struggle, she's going to go find another man who actually has money, in the bank. Now, Paul is asking me, what do you think about the passport bro movement? I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine. Like, I think everybody should have a passport just because traveling internationally is just good for you. Now, in terms of traveling internationally, because you think that the grass is always greener on the other side, I'm not necessarily a fan of that. Like, I think as an African American man, I feel a special kind of loyalty to the African American woman. So that's why I personally made that decision to say, if I got married, I'm going to marry me an African American woman, knowing that sometimes that ain't, there's ups and downs of that. There's assets and liabilities that come with that. The asset is that African American women are very smart, very hardworking, very tough, very committed to Black men, and that's an asset. The liability is that 76% of all African American women did not grow up with a father in the house. And many of us are led to believe that that doesn't matter, that you can be perfectly normal without your father in the house. And I don't think that that's true, because that would be as silly as saying that you're perfectly normal without having your mother in the house. And I know that if my mother was not in the house, if I only saw my mother once a month, or if somebody's like, oh, Boyce has a good mom, she comes to see him once a week, I wouldn't be the same guy if I didn't have a mother in the house. I would be a completely different man. And so I think that as a community, we got to kind of acknowledge that and talk about that as opposed to acting like that doesn't happen and that's not a big deal, because it does create conflict if that woman who never was able to depend on a man is suddenly in a space with a dependable man. So you're either in that scenario, if you are a superwoman and the strong black woman who can handle it all and hold it down, you're either going to attract um, conflict with a strong man, or you're going to attract a little boy who's going to fit right under your umbrella of dominance that you've established because you kind of have become the masculine figure in the house. You become or at the very least, the dominant figure in the house, right? And that's where you get these relationships where, think about it, it's a match made in heaven. You grew up watching your mother do everything and handle everything, so you think you're supposed to handle everything. He grew up watching his mother handle everything, where he did very little, so he thinks, okay, mama gonna handle everything. So when he grows up, he finds you, and you just become a replacement for his mother. So you end up handling everything, and he just kind of sits there and lets you kind of do it all. Or if he's a man that is not in that category, he becomes very frustrated because there's two people's hands on the steering wheel, and he ends up just walking away because he doesn't feel needed. So he shows up when it's time to have sex, and then he goes on about his life. So I think that you got to decide what kind of village you want to build, what kind of empire you want to build, how you want to build it, and you got to find the right types of people that will fit into that space, and you have to work like hell to make it work, because gender roles are so confusing. Men and women have changed. Marriage has changed, society has changed, and individuals are just different. So I think just really exploring that and sitting down with therapists and all that is really important, because the ability to maintain your marriage is a big wealth move. If you are in a successful marriage, you will 9 times out of 10 be far wealthier than a person who is in a failed marriage or no marriage at all. That's just a fact. It's easier to make money when there's two people working hard than it is to make money when one person is working hard by themselves, or two people are working against each other and sabotaging each other. So the investment you make to maintain that relationship is one of the most critical wealth moves you'll ever make. It also affects your children. Your children will inherit whatever empire you build and maintain together. And if you're teaching them in a structured way, then they're prepared to kind of take over the assets when you're done. But if you are fighting and divorced and everything's traumatic and chaotic, then your kids are going to just inherit. It's like inheriting a country that was just devastated by a bomb, right? They're ruling over the ashes. They're ruling over the ashes of your dead relationship, and all the trauma and all the pain and all the complexities that come with that. So it doesn't mean it's a matter of making fun of anybody or attacking anybody, whatever your situation is. It's really about something I would call financial consciousness, which is to be conscious and aware of where you want to be, what you want things to look like, where you are, and really being committed to fixing that, and being surrounded by people who are also committed to fixing that. It takes a lot of work. It ain't easy. So I understand, when I see the men who are frustrated, I get it. When I see the women that are frustrated, I get it. And I see people exiting. I see women that say, I'm going to go marry a man from Italy because Italian men want to get married and they're very romantic, and black men think that marriage is a burden. Okay, I understand that. And then I hear men who say, oh, I'm going to go to Brazil and find a woman because African American women do this and this and this, and Brazilian women have different value systems. I kind of get that. But I think also, what that really speaks to at the end of the day is that the people that are committed to each other as African Americans, those tend to be the strongest ones, because there's no logical reason I can really give you for not taking the easy way out. It's like when Deion Sanders left Jackson State to go to Colorado, part of me agreed with him 100%. And I understood it's the easy route. Yeah, go get that $5 million. It's easy. It's better than dealing with whatever BS comes with working with a broken institution. I get all that. But there's also something about sort of what you believe in. The question becomes, what do you believe in? And if you believe in Black institutions, then you sacrifice. You say, okay, you know what? It ain't easy. It's going to be hard. Yeah, I could be in a better situation, but I'm going to pour into this because this is where I'm at. This is where I live. So I felt that way about African-American women. It's like, yeah, there's, Black women, they come in all shapes and sizes. And there's challenges sometimes with the whole strong Black woman thing. But I got to work around that because Black women are the ones that I'm committed to. They're the ones who poured into me. They're the ones who got me where I am. So this is where I'm going to stay, through thick or thin. So it's tough. It's a tough decision. But whatever decision you make, do it right and maintain your relationship, because that will have a big impact on your wealth. And because it's hard to be a saver and an investor when you're married to somebody who's a spender and a gold digger. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, guys. And by the way, you guys know I have a new book called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. That's what that book is about. That book is all about exploring what culture looks like in a wealthy family. Like if you're creating a wealthy family, what culture do you implement? What rules, what codes of behavior do you implement that will help you maintain that institution that is your family? So if you go to boycewatkins.com, you can take a look at the book. Also on Friday the 13th, we're doing our financial slumber party. We're going to meet at 11 p.m. at night. We're going to get some popcorn. We're going to show up in our pajamas. I'll be wearing my pajamas too. We're going to hop into a Zoom, and I'm going to break down. I'm going to basically show you how to become the best investor in your family. So if you'd like to join us, just go to boycewatkins.com. And KYC says, what happened to Dr. Alicia joining? I have no idea. She does her own thing. So I think maybe she didn't feel like getting her hair done, but I'm going to bring her back in. I'm going to do a special conversation with my wife so she can have her say on this issue, because I know that I have my point of view and I appreciate you hearing it. And I know that sometimes you may disagree. That's why I bring her in sometimes, because I think we should hear all perspectives and we should learn from each other. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll hit the thumbs up button on your way out. I'll see you guys soon. Take care now. Peace.